A truly, truly invigorating experience I had this afternoon. I met four young ladies from Belgium. In fact, two were from Belgium and two were or are from Holland. All university graduates, so in their early 20s, just having a quiet afternoon together, enjoying the sun and lapping up the lake and admiring the Italian mountains. We were at the time actually we were at the foot of one of the highest mountains in our area in Switzerland, just over the border from where I'm living, namely Monte Generoso, which stands at 1,900 meters. And for them, of course, coming from Holland, which is virtually flat, if not flat, completely flat, and quite similar in many ways, I think, geographically to Belgium. They had been in Italy, holidaying, as I say, with their respective families, and then met up, I believe, somewhere in Tuscany, and visited then briefly a day in Florence, and then moved north, I believe, by car, and had a few days seeing the sights in Milan, which they found a wonderful city, very quiet, they said, to which I replied, probably due to the fact that a lot of Milanese were probably or are probably, given the time of year, on holiday, and as a result, most people in Milan are probably tourists like themselves, other visitors, or perhaps local people who have already been on holiday and are back either at home or gone back to work and therefore are actually in Milan. However, they were able to visit the main shopping areas, Corso Vittorio Emanuele, and were of course able to see the stupendous Piazza Duomo as well as the cathedral itself, walking through the Galleria, and saw, much to their delight, the opera house, the famous opera house, the Scala in Milan, and then they walked down Via Dante to the Castello, which is the Sforza Castle, or otherwise known as the Sforza Palace, and then moved on to have a day in Como, which they also found very beautiful. Como, for those of you who don't know it, is historically a very well-known city. It's a walled city. Within the walls, it's all closed to traffic and therefore only pedestrian. But again, there's a beautiful square, Piazza Cavour, which overlooks Lake Como, where there are ferry boats and cruises leaving, coming and going, for day trips, excursions up and around the lake, up to Bellagio and other parts of beautiful areas of Lake Como itself. And as I say, in Como, they were able to sit and enjoy an ice cream, again looking at the cathedral in Como, and then were just visiting the shops and generally relaxing. Then had a coffee and an ice cream, one of Italy's great favorites, of course, ice cream, or granita, which they had not ever had before. And as I say, when I met them, I think it was their last but one day, just enjoying the last of the sun, albeit in Ticino, which is the southern area, the Italian-speaking Switzerland, should we say, and were then due to travel back to their respective homes. As I say, two in Holland, I believe one living in Delft and the other living in Amsterdam, and the other two going back to their hometowns respectively, one in Bruges and one in Brussels. And as I say, it was a very nice, very tranquil afternoon, and as I say, much to my surprise, I just overheard them conversing in a language which to me was quite different, in that it wasn't, it didn't appear to be German. I know Dutch, but I can't say I know it well enough to distinguish between Dutch speakers. And in fact, it turned out that they were talking Flemish, which I believe is rather more difficult, if that's possible, than Dutch or indeed Russian. And between themselves, they found that that was an easier language to speak between themselves, although, of course, they all spoke exceptionally good English, which was very nice. And as I say, so 4 young ladies, more or less visiting Italy just for a brief holiday, and on their way back home to start back at university, all intending now to do a postgraduate course and therefore a master's in their various fields of specialization as fully qualified architects, one particular specializing maybe in building car parks or whatever. But as I say, what struck me most was their warmness and their almost disbelief of how welcoming the Italians really are. Although, as I say, we were in southern Switzerland, but of course that part of Switzerland is predominantly lived in more by, yes, Swiss, but Italian Swiss, and therefore reflects or is more similar to Italy than perhaps French-speaking or German-speaking Switzerland. And on that note, all I can say is that, again, a mixture of cultures and people and socializing with, as I say, 4 young ladies who were quite happy there on their own, enjoying the afternoon. And I asked them a little about their university and their experience during this terrible period of the COVID, to which, of course, they replied, yes, our classes with our professors in the halls or actually in class were much better, much more enjoyable, and on occasions easier than the online studying, which of course many of us have had to revert to as a result of the COVID pandemic. But they're hoping now that things will come back to a rather more, should I say, in inverted commas, normal situation, which of course they'll return to enjoying and seeing each other on a daily basis. And as I say, being part of a group and therefore feeling more that physical contact and that physical presence, which I think so many people have missed in this period, going back to the early part of last year. And on that sweet and wonderful note, I would like to wish you all a very pleasant evening.